Hello and welcome to the channel. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. So today we're back with the Jeep Cherokee and we're going to install the front lift on it. Now the Jeep already has a lift on it. It's leaf springs in the front and lift blocks in the rear, and all that's going to get swapped out with something new and current from this century, let alone this decade. So previous owner had this Jeep for 27 years, and I know it came with a 32-inch tall tire when he bought it. He had downsized it to a 31, and that's what we're currently running. But the stock leaf springs in the rear, 44 years old, they're sagging. The front leaf springs, the bushings are shot, the shackle bushings are shot all around, the sway bar bushings are shot, and well, the shocks, I don't know how old those are. I know the rear ones were put on by the previous owner, and they're air shocks. They don't hold air, like 2-3 hours, and this thing rides like a 1-ton truck. And I expect that. It's a solid front axle, front and rear, but I'm gonna change everything out with a new 4-inch lift. So let me show you what we're going to install, and let's get this installed on the road. So right here, if you notice, we are installing a Rusty's Off-Road 4-inch lift for a full-size Jeep. So if you look at, here's my part number for the 4-inch lift. F is for front, R is for rear. You can't see it because the leaf spring's upside down, but what you can tell is if you look at these leaf springs, let me move that out of the way. The front leaf springs have the centering pin right here because these go underneath the front axle. The rear leaf springs, the centering pin is on the bottom because they go on top of the axle. Also, notice the difference in length on the rear leaf springs. Now, inside this box right here was all the parts we needed. Those are the shocks still in there. And then this is the rest of the parts we'll be installing today. So one nice thing with the Rusty's 4-inch lift kit with these full-size Jeeps is they give you an extra U-bolt. Now, why is that? Let me show you. These are your standard U-bolts. I'm going to use them for the rear and I'm going to use them for the fronts. But they give you this extra wide U-bolt here because on the front axle on the passenger side, it's so close to the front diff, it has to be a bigger U-bolt. Also, I went ahead, I upgraded to stainless steel brake lines. I am not going to install those today. I'm going to wait until a future video for my own reasons. And then I have new shackle bushings right here from bjsoffroad.com for the front and rear. These are sway bar end links. And then I went down, took some calipers, and I measured to get some new sway bar links to go on the frame. So, see, there's the part I got. So I don't know if those are the correct part number for sway bars, but I took my calipers, I measured everything out, and they should work. For 11 bucks, I'm willing to give it a try, and everything in here is just dry rotted and nasty, so hopefully everything will be good to go. So if you look down here, I already have my jack stands underneath the Jeep, but yet you'll see that the tires are still on the ground. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unbolt the U-bolts. But pay attention, see this one there, right there, that's the one that's a little bit bigger. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to take off the leaf springs on the front, take off the shackles, and that way we can go ahead and press the new bushings in. Same thing with the sway bar end links, and finally replace the shocks. Now, am I expecting a ride to be different on this? Yeah, actually I am. This thing rides really bad, especially in the rear. So I'm hoping just shocks all around and the new leaf springs in the rear should really help us out because the leaf springs in the rear are flat. The front of this thing sits up about 1 inch higher than the rear. So hopefully when I get the second leaf spring for the rear, it should fix that problem. But let's go ahead and get the tear down started. So starting off on the bottom here, these U-bolts are all 7/8 of an inch. Apparently the little gun's not going to do it. Now to the other side. Now that the leaf springs are off, I went ahead and took the sway bar off also. I forgot to turn the camera on. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to take off the front bolts of the leaf spring so I can get the shackle. Again, make sure you're careful. Have everything safety checked. With jack stands. So I ended up putting a jack under here just to get this out and so it doesn't drop. And next thing I need to do is I need to get the shackle out so we can put the new bushing in. So the first shackle out, and let me show you. I mean, this thing is weather checked, dry rotted, cracked. So we're going to press this out and press a new one in. And then you're gonna use the same hardware that you used to remove the shackle and the leaf spring to put everything back together. So let's go over to the press and get this pressed out. And then it's a matter of switching the other side. Pretty easy, honestly. The old one is out, as you can see. It did not want to come out. Let me tell you what, I had to put some 1/4 inch plate here so I had some grip. Here is the new one. Gonna wipe this out. I even sprayed this down with some PB Blaster just to try to get it out. So I'm gonna put a little PB Blaster on the new one and try to press it in. Doesn't take much. The hard part I'm having is because this isn't flat, you gotta find something just like that. I'm gonna put a piece of flat stock right there. Well, first one's down. Took a little longer than I thought. Thankfully the press did all the work. So I'll go ahead and get this reinstalled, and I will put the new leaf spring up after I drop that rear leaf spring hanger. Then to see the other side. So I got the passenger side leaf spring out, and let me show you. I thought it was recording. Apparently I switched the GoPro to take a picture, but here it is. I went ahead and wiped it off. So I actually have a rough country set of leaf springs up front, where we're gonna put the rusties in back in. Now, I have noticed I have a leak right here, and it looks like my heater core might be leaking because it's coming right here from the bottom of the box, or the top of the box. So I don't know if it's this fitting here, I need to check, or the actual core inside. I guess this is part of owning an old vehicle. So, not a big deal, those are cheap. Let's go ahead and get the front of this leaf spring on. I got the shackle back in, and now it's just the leaf spring. The shackle, mind you, is loose, so I just need to bring this up and then switch out some U-bolts. Now I need to make sure that the new U-bolts back there are the correct ones that go here. Okay, so you're gonna reuse the OEM hardware. Let's see if I can get this up here between these bolts real quick. Get this into the shackle. All right, change plans. I couldn't get the shackle on, so I'm gonna do it. Shackle, I put that on first. Now we'll hang the leaf spring. There we go. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and pull a sway bar so I can get all those ends pressed in, and I will go ahead and work on the driver's side. Same step. One bolt drop spring, one bolt take the shackle off, and one bolt in the back. In this reverse order, I'll push the new bushing into the other shackle, and then we'll start working on the sway bar and shocks. So I ran into a dilemma. Let me show you. So the problem I'm having is the bolt for the shackle is hitting the gearbox for the power steering. So I'm gonna have to loosen the power steering box to get that out. So it's just one more thing. It turns a 90-minute job into a 3-hour job. On a side note, I got the sway bar out. Let me show you what that looks like. So on your sway bar, here's my nut and lock washer. These are the two ends I'll press out. These are the Moog mounts I bought. Right now it's just a piece of rubber that looks like somebody just cut up from an old tire, stuck it in there. Same thing on that side. Once I get the sway bar bushings all changed out, I will reinstall that, and then I will work on this shackle. Hopefully I can just loosen the steering box, honestly. This is kind of a pain to come out. And then that's really the hardest part of this whole install right now is the shackle, and then obviously finding a leak. Hopefully it's a loose hose clamp, but I have a feeling it's the heater core. So let's start pressing out these bushings. So you get these in pretty easy. I just get it in here nice and square. If it doesn't go in square, you're gonna damage it. Just like that. A little bit farther. this most of the way in, hit it on the table. Okay, so I got this shackle out. It's here. The new one is pressed in. This thing was tight. I mean, I'm glad I had a 20-ton press, not a 12-ton press. I probably would have had to cut it out if I didn't have something that big. It took everything I had to get it out. So to get it out, if you notice, my steering box is now loose. There's a gap there. I just barely got the bolts out. So what I'll do is I will tighten the steering box back up, put the shackle in here, and then thread the bolt this way. So if you ever have to take it off again, you can get it done that way. I'll probably hook it up to the leaf spring first, like I did on the other side, just to make my life a little bit easier. And then we'll put the sway bar back in. So I went ahead, I took the driver's side tire off so I could lower the axle down onto the leaf spring, just because I didn't jack the Jeep up high enough, honestly. So let me show you where I'm at. I got the U-bolts on. So here's where we're at. Still gotta replace the shock here, but I have the U-bolts on. I have the plate for the sway bar, and now I see it tighten them down to 75 foot-pounds of torque. Now the key to this is I do a crisscross pattern, and you want all the U-bolts about the same length. And what I mean by that is the thread showing past the nuts. You don't want to crank down on the back side and then have the front side roll short. You want them all about the same. Time to move on to the shock. I'm gonna go ahead and swap the shock out real quick. Came up flying, but came off. So I am replacing it with just the Rusty's basic shocks. I don't know how old this one is. On this, you do need to install these red bushings and the sleeve inside. I just put some grease on it, not PB Blast, but actual like axle grease. They'll pop right in with the vise. And then it's just reverse order. So the shock is in. It wanted to fight me the whole way. Next thing I need to do is I need to put the sway bar in. So here is the sway bar. I just went ahead, I cleaned it up, and then the end link, same thing. And then the next thing we'll do is I'll put the tire back on this, and I'm gonna complete the other side, and then we'll get everything torqued down. Now you wanna torque everything down, leaf spring wise, and my shackles, of course, when the weight is on the suspension, because there's those bushings in there, and you kind of want that to, if there's a memory or anything, you just want to squeeze it when it's on the ground. That's the way I've always been taught. That's what it says in the instructions. So that's what I'm gonna do. And I'll end up getting this wrapped up and then verifying that the heater core is leaking. But let me get this side done. We'll get the sway bars on and move over. And for you, it'll be just a second. For me, it's probably another 30-40 minutes worth of work. So let's get that done. I'll show you the final product. Well, I'm back. Everything is done except for all the bolts have to be torqued down. What do I mean? Well, everything's on the suspension, so I gotta torque it down now. So here is as it sits. As you can see, it is nice and dark outside. So you know that 90-minute job that turns into 3 hours? That was it. That was the passenger side. The two U-boats there just kicked my butt. I learned a long time ago, when you get mad, stop, take a break. I ended up taking like 3 or 4 breaks because I could not get the U-bolts in. I actually had to put back the ones that came on it. The ones with the Rusty's kit just didn't want to work. So it is together. I have 6 bolts to torque down. I have the shackles and the leaf springs, and that is it. I have the sway bars in. I went ahead on my heater core leak. I tighten this clamp there. We'll see if it stops it. If not, I'll have to take this apart and see where it's leaking. I don't like leaks on any of my vehicles. So I'm gonna wrap that up for here. That's gonna be the end of tonight's video because, like I said, it's dark, I'm tired, and man, I did not expect this to kick my butt like it did, and I still have to do the rear. Now hopefully the rear will be easy. It should ride better. I mean, the leaf springs on the rough country, you know, all the shackles still look good, or the bushings I should say. No cracks. But since I ordered a whole kit, I just went ahead and installed the new leaf springs. But being that all the sway bar bushings have been changed and the shackle bushings have been changed, after the alignment tomorrow, this thing should ride completely different, and especially when I get the new rear leaf springs and get those 44-year-old leaf springs off. We have lots of parts still in order for this. So stay tuned. Seats should be in the mail. We got some new seats coming. As long as I like the color, we'll order the rest of the material for the back seat to get it recovered. I have something to help out with fuel economy, especially in today's day and age, where it's $4.50, $5 a gallon, depending on where you live. So I can get some better fuel economy out of this. And I'm hoping to have the whole Jeep completely done, wrapped up to my standards around the second week of May. And honestly, that's just waiting on parts like the transfer case and whatnot. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you liked the video. And until next time.